Welcome to Mind Renovation Nation, the show that equips, challenges, and empowers small multifamily investors to think differently, act boldly, and grow strategically. Brought to you by Red Maples, a real estate performance advisory service for small multifamily investors. This show is hosted by Nathan Bush, a seasoned property manager, leadership coach, and creator of the Caesar Method. Each episode dives deep into lessons from real-world experience, conversations with trusted mentors, and the proven strategies Nathan has used to build and manage successful real estate ventures. Today's episode is all about what's on Nathan's mind, raw, relevant, and real. If you're tuning in live, don't forget to drop your questions in the comments. Nathan will tackle as many as time allows. Subscribe now on YouTube for more actionable insights and visit nathanbushmba.com for free resources to help grow your real estate business. It's time to renovate your thinking and elevate your results.
What is up, everybody? Over the last 15 years, I have been in property management, leasing and learning to lease. And today I'm going to share with you some tools and steps that I teach our leasing agents and I personally use whenever I'm leasing property in order to be able to lease property more efficiently, effectively, lease to the right tenants who pay rent, and get these properties leased fast. Our standard lease time at our organization is around 15 days or so to get a property leased from the time it hits the market until we actually have a tenant who's moving into that property. And so I want to show you what scripts I use, what tools I use, and strategies I use in order to be able to lease that property fast. Now, for those of you who have been following me for any length of time, you know I wrote a book called The Caesar Method. If the Caesar Method's of interest to you, you can get it on Amazon. It's not a commercial for the Caesar Method, but I'm going to share with you techniques and tools and tips I use from the strategy of the Caesar Method. In the Caesar Method, each letter is associated with a specific word. And that word helps keep us on the train tracks so that we ultimately have the outcome that we're looking for. If you're looking for a roadmap, a destinational tool that helps you get from point A to point B, wouldn't you want to use the most efficient and effective tool in order to get the outcomes you're looking for? Well, there are no shortcuts in life, but there is the Caesar Method. The Caesar Method will help guide us in our conversation today in order to be able to go over these 5 questions that I ask that help us lease more profitably. I'll tell you a quick story and then we'll get into it. We had a 20-plus unit apartment community that we were leasing for, and it was very vacant whenever we started. I mean, we're talking 90% vacant whenever we started with this apartment community. And what's crazy about this is that after about 6 months, we filled the whole thing up. 6 months of our focused management on this property, we were able to fill the whole thing up. We used this process in order to be able to fill the whole thing up. But the benefit was after 6 months, it's 100% rented and there's 0 collections on the property. If you'd like to know how to do that, go ahead and put it in the comments right now, whether you're watching live or on replay. Otherwise, I'll just shut the video down. If you're watching live right now, we won't finish out. I know it's a big tease, right? But if you're not here and you're not watching and you're not participating, put in the comments right now, leasing swipe file, right? It should be simple. Leasing, Leasing, swipe, SWIPE file, FILE. And if you put that in the notes, in the comments, I will DM you a copy of the swipe file that we're utilizing right now. Our teams use it. We train off of this swipe file. This is literally the tool we use in order to be able to profitably and effectively lease those properties. So if you're looking for the language script today, I'm going to give you part of it. But if you're looking for the whole thing, I would highly encourage you to put it in the comments, swipe leasing swipe file, and I or somebody from my team will get you the entire file. Okay, so what's the 5 questions? Well, before I get into those 5 questions, that's the big promise from the thumbnail that's on the YouTube video. We first have to understand where we're at in the process in order to be able to do these things. Because if I just give you these things and then you put the cart before the horse, you'll do them out of order. Remember, if we do the right thing, but we do it at the wrong time, that's called a mistake. And I don't want you to make a mistake while you're leasing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch my last episode. All right, here's the thing. Before we can ask questions, we first have to connect with the prospect, okay? It's imperative. You can't just jump in and start asking questions with people. And effectively, if you ask the wrong question at the right or the wrong time, you're going to have a disaster on your hands. The person's just going to reject you. You might even ask the right question at the wrong time, and then you'll get some resistance, okay? So we want to make sure we ask the right question at the right time. And the first step in the Caesar process, Caesar method, is to connect. So we have to connect with the prospect before we can ask. So C and A, that's the C and A in Caesar. We have to connect with the prospect before we can ask them questions. So the right question to ask, if in the audience, put it in the chat. What do you think I'm going to ask you to ask me right now? Yeah. How do we connect with the prospect before we can start asking them questions? Now, I personally and intentionally use a series of different types of scripting depending on the type of property that I'm leasing, right? If I'm leasing a residential property and I'm leasing it in a primary rental neighborhood or rental community, the way I'm going to introduce myself and the way I'm going to ask the question matters because I'm trying to connect with people on their level. So I typically introduce myself by saying, this is Nathan with Red Maples. You recently inquired about one of our units or homes. Are you still looking for a place to stay? If it's a primary rental community or primary rental neighborhood, a lot of people are transient. They move from place to place. If they ask them if they're looking for a place to live or a home to settle down in, those types of questions can be off-putting. And so I want to connect in the right way. And so I'm going to ask them, are you looking for a place to stay? It's common vernacular. It lets them know that I'm with them, that I understand them. Now, if I'm not in a primary rental neighborhood, if I'm maybe leasing something that's residential or a mixed-use building, I might reach out to them and say, hey, thanks for reaching out about a rental. What type of property are you searching for, residential or commercial? I'd love to help. See, there's a big difference. The way you connect with somebody is determined upon the type of building that you're renting and the potential type of tenant that you're renting to. And you want to make sure that you ask the questions in a right way that will connect with them and get them to engage with you. If you don't get engagement in your connection, how good is the connection really anyways? Right? So first, hi, this is Nathan with Red Maples. You recently inquired about one of our homes. Are you looking for a place to stay? This isn't part of the 5 questions. This is just connecting with the prospect. If it's a mixed-use building, I might say, thanks for reaching out about the rental. What type of property are you searching for, residential or commercial? I'd love to help. Might even call them up. Hey, this is Nathan with Red Maples. Thanks for reaching out for the rental property. What type of property are you searching for, residential or commercial? I'd love to help you. And what are they going to say? They're going to answer the question and engage with me. Now, if I'm following up with a prospect, I don't like the word follow up. I don't like the word checking in. I don't like any of those types of words. I prefer to say, hey there, it's Nathan with Red Maples. Are you still looking for a place to rent? Let me know what you need help with. Right? Now I'm not asking them, I'm asking them a 2-step question in the connection there. Are you still looking for a place to rent? Let me know what you need help with. It's more of a statement than a question, but I'm trying to connect and get engagement with the prospect whenever I'm following up with them. And then if I'm following back up with a potential tenant, or if I'm talking with somebody in a primarily high-end residential neighborhood, I might say, you recently inquired about one of our properties. What kind of space are you looking for? Let me know how I can best serve you. How I can best serve you or how you'd be best served, right? If I do this properly, then I'm doing the connection step properly and I'm getting engagement from the prospect. It depends on the type of property that we're renting, where that property is located, on which connection tool that I specifically use. If we do the connection piece right, then it gets a lot easier to get in to the second step, which is the ask step of the Caesar method. And I've got 5 questions, guys. These 5 questions are the absolute most important 5 questions you can ask your prospect when determining what's the best property for them, so that you don't create animosity. You find the right fit for the tenant. And here's what I say. Here's the first question. It's a 2-part question. How many total occupants will be living in the home, and how many are over the age of 18? Now, why do I ask that question? Well, I once had a young couple who applied for a beautiful 2-bedroom unit, okay? It was beautiful. They checked out everything until move-in day. Uh-oh. That's when we found out 5 more people showed up with them, including 2 adult cousins. The issue wasn't the people. It was the lack of transparency and that they couldn't meet the occupancy requirements. Had we asked the right questions sooner, We could have avoided this for everybody. So you've got to ask the right question, which is how many total occupants will be living in the home and how many over the age of 18? This is the first question that I typically ask in the S step of the Caesar method. Why? Why is it so imperative that I use this? Well, I might say something like this, just so we're aligned, how many total people will be living in the home and how many over the age of 18? That tells them how many people will need to apply for the property. It subtly suggests that we don't just allow you to just move in the property just because you want it. There's a slight takeaway to this process. And it starts the process of feeling like it's screening, but it's not really screening the resident. It's using all the appropriate fair housing laws to my benefit and to my favor to get more engagement from the prospect properly. So just so we're aligned, how many people will be living in the home? How many over the age of 18? And then when they say anything, it doesn't matter, 2, 3, 5, 10, I'm going to say adults over the 18 must apply. And this protects everyone involved. We wanted to prevent surprises to set you up for a smooth lease. This also will help us serve you better. Quick question for you. Do you know anybody else right now looking to move? Why do I do that? Well, because in the Caesar method, I ask for the referral early and often. I want to get engagement with the prospect. I want to connect with them. I want to ask questions. But more importantly, I want to find the best prospect for that home. So it's okay to go ahead and ask that question right now. All right. So the first question that we're going to ask, the power question, is how many occupants will be living in the home and how many over the age of 18? The second question that we're going to ask, and let me set up the second question before I get too far into it, okay? A few years ago, I had a renter fall in love with a unit, but their move-in date was 90 days out. The unit would be gone in 10 days. Remember, we lease these things fast. And so their disappointment, because they went through the process, they applied, they did the whole 9 yards, they weren't aligned. They just got mad going through the process. So what do you think the question is that I asked? The second question I asked in the S step. Yeah. When are you looking to move? That helps me set up. Do I have units in the pipeline that I know might be better for them so that I can start sending them the right deals as far as where construction is or potential move outs would be? Or am I actually in the process right now of being able to move them in within the next 30 days? I got to get them moved in fast. And so I don't know how many leasing agents, they don't even take the time to do this process properly. They don't connect and they don't ask the right 5 questions. They don't ask how many people will be living in the unit, how many over the age of 18, when are you looking to move? And so it's so important that we ask these questions. The next question, look, guys, I love pets. Our organization at Red Maples, we allow pets. We just don't allow vicious breeds of pets to live in any of our units. It's for insurance purposes and to protect the owners so they don't get sued, okay? I had a family one time. They were perfect for the rental on their history. They had great credit, no issues. They could afford the deposits. They put all the money down. They signed the lease, and then, I've got 2 pit bulls that are moving in with me, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now they're trying to move these 2 pit bulls in with a signed lease, and they can't bring their animals with them. Do you think that created tenants that wanted to pay or didn't want to pay? Okay, so we got to ask the question up front. We got to ask them, do you have animals? We love pets, but we have to ask, do you have any pets? What kind? Right? This sets the tone for us not having surprises on the back end. I know it seems so simple, guys, to ask these questions. How many people? Or how many over the age of 18? What's the move-in date? How many pets? It seems routine, repetitive, redundant. Well, that's what leasing is. We've got to do the process correctly if we want to have happy tenants who move into the property. I might even ask them, do you have any other tenants that you know that potentially have pets that are looking for a place to move? We love animals, but I got to know what kind of pet first, right? Do you see how that works? Is this helpful for anybody? If it's helpful for you, put it in the comments right now, something new that you've learned or something that has been an aha moment for you. It just helps me know that I'm on pace and this is the type of content that you guys like to receive out there. All right. The next one is a doozy also. All right. So I've asked them about occupants, but now I need to requalify that occupant question with how many beds and bathrooms do you need? Have you ever had a tenant move into your property and they went to tour your property, and when they went to tour the property, they're like, "Nah, it's just not right for me. It's not a good fit." You know why it wasn't a good fit? Because they needed 2 bathrooms and you didn't ask the question. And so you wasted everybody's time and they didn't provide you any referrals. And so you didn't list that property fast because you didn't ask the right question. How many beds and baths do you need? It's not just enough to know how many occupants they need. It's also imperative and important to know how many bedrooms and baths they think they need so you can have this occupancy question with them. And so I just say to them, I want to respect your time. What's the minimum number of beds and baths that you need? Want to make sure that we get the right size. Maybe they want maybe they want a 4-bedroom, but their occupancy will allow them for a 3-bedroom. We got to get them into the right property. Do you know anybody else that's looking for a 3-bedroom that's maybe outgrown their house? That might be a good referral question to ask. All right. This has been helpful. Again, if it's been helpful for you, the number one thing that you've learned, put it in the comments. That's going to help me to know that you guys are learning stuff. And if you like this type of information and content, by the way, guys, remember, I said to put in the comments leasing swipe file. If you put in leasing swipe file in the comments, I have got all of the scripts and tools that our team has used that I have built over the last 15 years of being in property management that helps our teams be able to lease these properties more fast, effective, efficient, and that way the tenants are paying their rent when they move in. So we've went over 3 questions so far. How many? When did you need to move? Do you have any pets or animals? How many beds or baths do you have? And the last question is so imperative, and most people won't ask this question. In fact, this question is one of those questions where it almost seems offensive, but you're doing it out of a place of care. You're doing it from a place to help the tenant. And so if you do it from a place to help the tenant, see, the tenant thinks you're qualifying them. You're not qualifying the tenant right now. This isn't a qualification process. We're not screening the tenant. We're trying to match the proper property with the proper prospect. And so if you don't match the proper property with the proper prospect, you run into issues. Right action, wrong time, resistance. You guys get that? Right action, wrong time, resistance. And so we want to make sure that we are putting them in the right unit. And so that question that we asked, the last question of the 5 questions that we ask is, what is your rental budget and what are you comfortable spending per month? Now, why would I ask that question? I had a prospect once that toured our stunning 4-bedroom home, and they told me, this is it. But when we got to the application stage, the budget was $600 below the asking rent. And I realized I hadn't talked about their budget up front with them. I realized that I had made a mistake, which was causing frustrations on both sides. It was a perfect property for them. It was $600 too expensive. And so we got to make sure we match the right prospect with the right property to the right prospect. Rent's only one part of the equation, though. There's also utilities, security deposits, and sometimes prorated fees that we've got to talk through with the tenant up front before they tour the property. Because I have 2 bonus questions for you. If those 5 questions are beneficial for you, these bonus questions are going to be the fire on top of these questions that move the tenant to action. You guys want questions that move the tenant to action? I'm going to share them with you just right now. Okay, we've got 2 questions that are what I call the action moving question. Number 1, why are you moving? I want to get a good background for that tenant and why they're moving and why they want to move into this property and why they want to be there and what happened with their previous landlord. This question's gold. Look, this is what adds fuel to everything that we do by asking this bonus question, which is, why are you moving? We have 5 primary questions that are required to ask on every call. But if I can ask this question, I have time, the tenant's not rushed, and it comes across natural in the conversation, why are you moving? Whew, that's very helpful. It's very helpful. It gives me a whole history about that tenant, so I have a better understanding that I can document. And it also gives me the motivation to help put the I want to say pressure, but it's really indirect pressure. Put the indirect pressure into the application process to get them to apply. And so I want to ask the question, why are you moving? And then I want to ask the obligating question, if the tour goes well today, are you ready to apply? Because it's going to instill them to ask you what question? Well, what am I going to need to apply? So you can have that conversation up front early and have them ready to apply. If we do all those things, then I'm going to ask them how they would like me to send over the application, via text message or email, which works best for them. How would they like me to send over the tour link for them to be able to tour, text message or email? And I can have them start the application and tour the property right now if it's perfect. Hey, don't you want to go ahead and get the application in before even touring the property? You can go tour the property just to verify it's what you want. But we have a lot of interest in this property right now, and I'll send the application over to you. How would you prefer to apply? I've got text message, or I can send it over via email. Which one works better? Oh, I'm not ready to apply yet. That's okay. If you like what you see on today's tour, are you ready to apply? Yeah, okay, I'll send you over the link. How would you like that sent? Via email or text message? Which one works better for you? Do you see how that works? Now we're in a position where we have helped that tenant find the right property at the right price. And I'm not putting too many tenants into a wrong property they can't move into. I haven't frustrated the tenant with their pets. This process is so important that you follow, that this is the tool and the resource that we use, that we actually train our team members from, that help them to be able to do this exact same thing within Red Maples. In the swipe file, there's a number of different things. If leasing swipe file, that's what you're putting in the comments if this is something that you want. I've got our qualification standards in here. I've got a link to a lockbox to show the tenant how to actually use the lockbox. I've got a number of other things about what to do after the person applies, how to coordinate move-in timing, and a number of objections and responses that the tenant might have or potentially have, and how to respond to those additional objections. If that's important to you, go ahead and put leasing swipe file in the comments, and I'll make sure that you get that information sent over to you via DM. All right, are you a real estate investor, and do you need help managing your rental properties? If you do, I'm with Red Maples. Go over to red-maples.com/the word assessment, 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 red-maples.com/assessment, and we can start your rental portfolio assessment today. All right, if that's something you wanted to do. I'm super excited to continue to provide great content for you guys. If you like this type of comment, again, put what you liked in the comments, even if you watch on replay, if you're watching on YouTube or you watch on Facebook, no matter where you caught this show at, put it in the comments. If you are listening to the podcast on the podcast platforms, please leave me a review. By doing so and leaving what you loved about this helps boost the show so I can get more traction and allow more people to hear this type of content. And it lets me know that you like this type of content. All right, guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me today. And remember, Renovation Nation, this show's all about values-based investing. We want to do the right thing. We want to be the type of organization that helps people. We want to be the type of organization that supports people. And so if that's important to you, join us next time. Share the show. You can join Renovation. You can join the nation, right? How do you join the nation? You subscribe to the email list, number one. You share the show with a friend so you can join us every Friday at noon. And you subscribe to the YouTube channel. When you've done all three of those things, I've got some gifts and goodies to send over to you that'll blow your mind if you're a real estate investor. So go ahead and do those three things to join the nation. I'll see you on the next side. Stay blessed, guys. Stay inspired. Remember, every day is a great day to renovate your nation. Thanks.